Today, the New York Jets of the American Football League upset the Baltimore Colts of the National Football League in Super Bowl III, making Joe Namath a handicapping legend and ruining what had been a splendid season for the Baltimore Colts. That was a dark day for the Colts. It was yet darker when the team fled to Indianapolis in 1984. For the fans whose resentment still festers, tomorrow's game between their old team, the Colts, and their new team, the Ravens, offers a chance to settle an old score. Wendy Nix has more.
It's a day the city of Baltimore will never forget. On a March morning 23 years ago, the Colts left town under the cover of darkness and headed for Indianapolis.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my understanding that the Colts are on their way to Indianapolis.
While Indianapolis celebrated, Baltimore began to mourn.
They took everything. Everything's gone.
I remember my father waking me up in the middle of the night and said, you know, he heard it on the radio, and he said, you can't believe this, and he has tears coming down his eyes, and we were just devastated. I mean, the thing I remember most was our mayor, Donald Schaefer, literally crying on the TV that day.
I'm trying to retain what little dignity I have left in this matter. And second, if the Colts had to sneak out of town at night, it degrades a great tradition of the city in football.
Despite multiple promises by then-owner Bob Irsay,
I have not any intention to move the damn team. If I did, I will tell you about it, okay?
the Colts were gone, leaving their fans angry and embittered.
Hatred, sadness, disappointment. I felt that team was my team. It wasn't Bob Irsay's team. It was my team. And here you had a man that destroyed the legacy of the Baltimore Colts.
It sort of draws me up again today when I think about it. Very close to him. Enjoyed the games. Was a season ticket holder just like I am now with the Ravens. But it was heartbreaking. I remember it was heartbreaking.
John Zeman is the president of the Marching Ravens, the current Baltimore band that evolved from the Colts marching band. Zeman, a former drummer, has been with the organization for over 40 years.
When we lost the Colts, the sun came up the next day. Nobody died, but our heart was torn out. We lost a major part of our community. And the band members pledged, each and every one of them, we will stay together and we will bring a professional football team back to Baltimore.
Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
Nostalgic for a time as much as a team, Colts lifers recall the days before free agency and exorbitant salaries. A time when Baltimore was as much a home to the Colts and its stars as it was to the fans who loved them. Tom Matte played in Baltimore for 11 seasons.
We've stayed here and played here. We lived here, we died here, our children are here, we worked here in the off season. It was a complete package.
Baltimore is a tough old blue-collar town, and the Colts were a tough old blue-collar football franchise for many years.
Dan Rodericks is a Metro columnist for the Baltimore Sun.
People remember that time. They're sentimental for that time, and it's a very strong feeling. You know, that was my father's football team, my uncle's football team. My mother baked cakes for Johnny Unitas, you know, that kind of thing. And that's why now they want a little payback. You stole our team. There's still a grudge. We want some payback.
The city is now Raven crazy. Time, they say, heals all wounds. Why then do Baltimore Colts fans seem so reluctant to let bygones be bygones?
To see that horseshoe and our heritage in another city hurts. The team, the players, they can move. That didn't hurt us, but it was our heritage that was ripped from us, and now we don't even get credit for it in the Football Hall of Fame.
You go back and the Hall of Famers are called Indianapolis Colts. I am not an Indianapolis Colt. I am a Baltimore Colt. They have their own things that they have. I don't want to be part of their history because I never played in that town.
It's like New Zealand celebrating the 4th of July. You know, the Declaration of Independence wasn't signed there. Why would they celebrate that event?
Even though he was only 8 years old when the team left town, Paul Steisley loves the Baltimore Colts. It's a passion he inherited from his dad.
John Unitas did not play in Indianapolis. You know, Lenny Moore didn't do. The 58 championship was not an Indianapolis victory. It doesn't seem like they have the right to that heritage.
It's sick. They are people. They're, in essence, people, the blood of Baltimore. And to take that and to keep that is, I hate to use the word sick, but it's just sick to me. Why would they want to keep that?
Peyton, pump fake, throws it back of the end zone. Touchdown, Reggie Wayne!
Saturday when I go to the game, you know, even though I'm a root for the Ravens, you know, and scream and let my hell out, I'm going to see them Colt helmets, and, you know, it's just going to, like a knife, a little bit into my heart, because I'm saying that should have been our helmets.
It hurts.
It hurts.
Among those experiencing mixed emotions tomorrow might be William Hudnut. He was the mayor of Indianapolis who helped spearhead the effort to lure the Colts away from Baltimore. But for the last 10 years, Hudnut's been living in Maryland, even serving as the mayor of his municipality. With the Colts in town for tomorrow's game, nostalgia is the order of the day in Baltimore, and no one can appreciate the nature of all the emotions surrounding this game than the man who joins us now. Jerry Sandusky is the radio voice of the Baltimore Ravens, and his father, John, was a Baltimore Colts assistant coach from 1958 to 1972. Jerry, what does this game tomorrow mean to all those Ravens fans who were once Colts fans?
It's a wild intersection where emotions are destined to collide in ways nobody can ever predict when they see the blue Colt horseshoe come back to town. And Jeremy, earlier in the show, you used the phrase, the Colts are coming back home. They're not coming back home. This is the home of the Baltimore Colts. It was never the home of the Indianapolis Colts. This is sacred ground for names like John Unitas, for names like John Mackey, for my dad, John Sandusky, and for all of the people who were part of that Baltimore Colt organization. And the biggest emotion we feel when the Colts come to Baltimore is that the Baltimore Colts and all of the great men who were part of that organization don't have a final resting place.
Jerry, even more than, say, the Buffalo fans and their Bills, or Dallas fans and their Cowboys, or Broncos fans and their team, it seems that the relationship between Colts fans and Baltimore and their team has been memorialized. Maybe it's Barry Levinson and the movies that he made, among other factors. What was so special about that relationship?
There was no line between fan and family. If you were part of the Colts, whether you worked for the Colts, whether you rooted for the Colts, you were included in that family. Jeremy, on the day I was born, my father was on the practice field. He was the offensive line coach for the Colts. And June McCaffrey, the wife of Don McCaffrey, the receivers coach, went out onto the practice field and said, "You have another offensive lineman." And the owner of the Colts sent home a sterling silver cup with the Baltimore Colts insignia etched into the side. I still have that cup. And everybody in Baltimore who grew up watching the Colts as a part of the Colts has a story like that. It wasn't the separation of you're in the skybox, you're in the club seat, you're in the upper deck. You were either part of the Colts or you were part of something entirely different in another town. There was no degrees of loving the Colts. You were just part of it all.
What was your feeling that morning when you woke up 23 years ago to find that they had left in the middle of the night for Indianapolis?
I felt the way I would imagine people felt in ancient times when they learned the world was not flat. All of a sudden, everything you held as true north, everything you held as a guarantee was completely askew. And I wondered for a while, how can the NFL move forward if something as sacred as the Baltimore Colts can't exist anymore? Well, obviously it did move forward, but those of us who were part of that Baltimore Colt past still feel a little imbalanced when we see the Colt uniform.
We have only a few seconds remaining, Jerry, and you work for the Ravens in a manner of speaking. Have they fully replaced the Colts in the hearts and minds of Baltimore sports fans?
They've done something more important. You can never replace a first love. But what the Ravens have done for Baltimore is they have given the next generation of football fans that same type of passion. The team to love, the experience to share, the championships to hope for, and the magnet that draws an entire town together. Because, Jeremy, when it's the playoffs and it's 4th and 1 and the game's on the line, the 70,000 people who gather with seconds left on the clock don't look to their left and think, is that guy a Democrat or a Republican? Is that guy to my right a Jew or a Catholic? They just think it's us against the world, and that's the beauty of football in Baltimore.
It will make tomorrow very interesting indeed. Jerry Sandusky, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.